Hey, so this video is for creating stars. So, for example, my favorite little six-pointed star here with a little tack in the middle, and then we have a larger eight-pointed star with a double tack in the middle, and then some variations on this theme of stitch. Not necessarily all of them look like stars, like this little plus sign. And then this, which kind of serves almost as a circle if you're using it in places, but it has like a very radial circle feel to it. And then this, which is definitely, it's just a little cross hatching of threads, if you will. And that is more of a textural thing. So these are beautiful for having like in repetitive spots where you have a whole row of them along a seam or something. All right, let's get started on learning how to stitch these. So to create my favorite simple six-pointed star, I'm going to start with the middle spike of the star. So this stitch is basically composed of, or the star stitch is basically composed of 1, 2, 3 stitches and then one tacking them down in the middle. So it looks like a little bit more effort, but it's super easy. So I'm bringing it out at the top of the stitch, inserting the needle at the bottom of this row, and then I'm going to bring the needle back out at the tip of that. And then I'm going to insert the needle into the end of that while bringing the needle out to create the third stitch. So it's just these 3 intersecting stitches. Okay, and then we're not quite done. Now, because this is a little loose and kind of flimsy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the needle out at one side of these 3, and then I'm going to tack it down at the other side, and I'm going to use the tip of the needle to kind of like pull the threads back so I can make sure that that stitch is really tight and really secure. So there you go, that's our first style of star stitch. Now the second one I'm going to do is this 8-pointed star, and again this is just an intersection of 4 different lines. So we have this line, we have this line, and this line. So I'm going to do them in whatever order. It really doesn't matter. It's not that important, the order. But making sure that you get the spacing is relatively important. So I usually draw that in. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can just like do it as a second nature. But until then, feel free to draw the lines ahead of time. There's no harm in that. So I'm creating these 4 intersecting lines. And now, same thing, it's a little like flimsy and like meh in the middle. Meh, that's a real word. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a little X on these. So I'm gonna come up, and because the way that the 8-pointed star splits up, it's a little uneven, I'm gonna come up underneath this line right here, and I'm gonna insert it on top of that line. So just 1 space underneath to 1 space on top. Same thing, you want that tight and snug against the various stitches. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So just on top of that line, on one side, and then I'm going to bring it just underneath that line on the other side. So that little X keeps the middle down. All right, and then if I wanted to do that really tiny, like a really super tiny version of that, where it's just a plus sign and the X in the middle. Ooh. All right, so I'm going to do the 2 perpendicular lines. And then create the diagonal lines on top of that by bringing the needle up on one corner of that and down on the other, and then same with the other side. So I'm going to come up out of the top and then go diagonally across. All right, so now we're going to do this little tiny guy over here. And because this one's so small and it doesn't need the ones tacking it down in the middle, this one's more of like a textural. It almost looks like a circle or something when you're done with it. So I'm going to do these 2 perpendicular lines again first. And then I'm going to do these diagonal lines. And again, this one's not really meant to look like a star until you get up really close to it. This is really like a dimensional texture. So you would want to have, if you had like a row of these or something like that, it's more of a textural element. Okay, and speaking of textural elements, now we're going to do this little kind of crosshatch guy. And that's really going to look a whole lot more like a circle. So that's basically just 3 stitches, and I go in one direction and then coming out and going in the other direction with these 3 stitches. To create this shape. And again, it's more of a texture. It's like creating a circle without having to go through the trouble of actually drawing a circle. So that's the way it'll show up.
Want to know more about designing your own embroideries? Be sure to check out my latest book, The Art of Embroidery Design, or find a little magic in your threads with my best-selling book, Mystical Stitches. And if you enjoyed this stitch video, be sure to check out my workshops. Learn the infinite potential of each stitch through my Stitch Explorer workshop, or you can check out my Magic Threads bundle and save $27 by getting all of my embroidery and design workshops in one place. Head to mixedcolor.net for more. Oh, and I think this is the point where I'm supposed to ask you to like and subscribe, I guess? I don't know. I'm new to this.